All right, so we're talking about percents again, but this time we are looking at simple interest. So please take a look on the cover of your packet at this formula. This is the one that we're going to be using today. Simple interest is really a simple form of what actually happens, and we're going to learn later this compound interest formula is what happens in real life, but we're going to simplify it a little bit so that you can get the idea, and then we'll do the more complex real life problem. So again, percents happen in real life all over, and today we're going to talk about interest. If you could please turn in your packet to well, first let's take a look here. We're done with percent increase decrease, and now we're talking about this simple interest, 9-7. It's on page 23 in your packet. All right, so if we look ahead at the vocabulary page, please look at the words at the beginning of that vocabulary page because those are going to be used in this lesson. First of all, principal. Basically, when you put money into the bank, you gain interest on it. Either that or you borrow money from the bank and they charge you interest. Either way, interest is a sum that is added on. Okay, so the principal is the original, the sum of money lent or invested on which the interest is paid. The interest is the amount of money that's paid on top of that principal. So it's generally a percentage, and that percentage rate is what is charged or earned on that amount of money. And it's changed drastically over the years. Now it's really a small percent if you're putting money into the bank, but it's a larger percent if you're borrowing money. Okay, so this formula is going to be used today a lot. Simple interest. You take the interest, and that is equal to the principal times the rate as a decimal. Could you please make sure that you wrote that in there? It's very important that the rate is changed into a decimal. So for example, if I start off with a rate that is 5%, you would not use 5 in your formula. This R right here would have to be 0.05, not 0.5, but 0.05. And for time in years, notice the time in years, that years part is really important. So if they give you the answer in months, for example, 5 months, remember that's 5 months out of 12 months in a year. So that would really be 5/12 of a year. And so in your formula, you would have to use 5/12. Okay, now please turn to page 23 so that we can take a look at the type of problems you'll be doing. And I'll also show you a little bit of a trick that you can use, when you're calculating simple interest. Okay, so again, I equals PRT. I was just shown something that can help you with this problem as well. So why don't you write it down? First we have I on the top, and on the bottom we have P, R, and T. So if you know some of these pieces of information, as long as you know 3 out of the 4 numbers, you can solve for the missing number. And that's kind of what these problems will be doing. They'll give you 3 of the 4 numbers and you have to find the 4th. So again, R has to be a rate as a decimal. In other words, you have to convert it by dividing by 100. So for example, 5%, you would do 5 divided by 100, which is 0.05. And T has to be time in years. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, $250 at 6% for 3 years. Find the simple interest to the nearest cent. So your answer will be in dollars and cents. All you need to do is plug in the numbers into this equation. If you have $250, you have to ask yourself, is that the interest or is that the original amount? And because it says that's the number that's at 6%, that means it's the principal, it's the P. So I do 250, that's the P, and now we need 6% as a decimal. So I need to do 6 divided by 100, or just move the decimal 2 places in my head. So 0.06. And then I multiply by the years. 3 is already in years, so I just write it as a 3. And that was my I equals PRT. Again, we're just plugging into this formula. For this, all I need to do is multiply these. Notice these are all on the same level of our triangle, so we're multiplying each of these. If, for example, you scroll down or look down on your paper, I always say scroll down. If you look down on your paper, you'll notice that some of these bottom ones give you the interest, and they don't tell you what the original amount is. If that's the case, then you might need to divide. So that's why this is here. You might need to take the interest and divide by what is given in the problem. So, but these first bunch do not have any different problems. They're just straight I equals PRT, and you just go ahead and multiply. But don't forget to convert to a decimal and convert to years. So let's check that first one. What did you get for this first one? 250 times 0.06 times 3. Did you get $45? Great job. And does that make sense? If you earn 6% of $250, well, 10% would just be $25. So would it make sense that for 3 years, even if we made 10%, we'd make $75? So this would be definitely less because 6% is not quite 10%. It's less than that. Just remember, simple interest is the amount per year. So 6% you would earn on the first year, then you would earn 6% on the second year, and then 6% on the third year. In compound interest, we're going to talk about if you earn money, then you also make interest on the earned money, which means you'll earn more in the long run. So it's a good thing that we don't actually operate with simple interest in real life, but this will make it a little simpler. All you're doing is really multiplying. Or if they give you the interest and you don't know what the principal is, then you can divide to find your answer. All right, so let's just scroll down to one of the word problems to try. Colin is borrowing money from his parent to buy a $700 computer. He will pay them $35 per month for the next 2 years. What is the simple interest rate on Colin's loan? So what piece of information do they give you? Oh, we missed one. 2 years. Let's write down I equals, P equals, R equals, and T equals. Sometimes that can help you to solve these problems. If I know the interest, then I'm going to write that down. But does it give it to us? Nope. Do I know the principal? $700 computer, so yes, I know the principal. The rate, I don't know, so we're just going to call it R because I don't know that number. And T is 2, and it's in years, so that's a bonus. If I look above at this problem, 10 months, my T is going to be 10 out of 12 months in a year. So it's going to be a decimal, or you could leave it as a fraction. So back to this problem though. I don't know the interest until I figure this out. $35 per month for 2 years. Well, how many months is that? Oh, I'm thinking 24 months. So can you figure out how much he paid total? Well, if you do 35 times 24, that would give me the total number of dollars that he paid. Is that what interest is? No. The interest is just the amount that he paid on top of the $700. Okay, so let's do this 35 times 24. Do that on your calculator. Did you get $840? Okay, so that's the total that he paid. What you need to figure out is how much of that was interest. Well, if it was a $700 computer, how much more did he pay? Oh, I could subtract. It's kind of like the interest, or the percent increase that we did before. But you don't have to find the percent yet. So do you agree that he paid $140 in interest? All right, I hope so. So that will go in our I. And now we're going to go ahead and use the equation to figure out what I'm going to do. Again, I'm sorry that there's not a lot of room on this. We were trying to conserve paper. If you want to do this on a separate sheet of paper, please just staple it. But if we use I equals PRT and we plug in the numbers, I've got 140 equals 700 times R, which I don't know, times T, 2. All I'm doing is I'm putting these numbers into the equation. So now, do you remember how to solve equations? I hope so. You simplify, then undo, solution, check. So 700 times 2 is $1,400. 140 equals 1,400 R, and that's times. So to undo, I divide. Divide by 1,400, divide by 1,400. So 140 divided by 1,400 is going to give me my percent. Oh, but if you do that on a calculator, don't you get 0.1? Is that a percent? No, remember the rate is written as a decimal, so I have to change it to a percent. What is 0.1 as a percent? Wouldn't that just be, if I move the decimal twice, wouldn't that just be 10%? All right, and that seems to make sense. If you got 150%, you'd know that you did something wrong. That's probably one of the harder problems on the packet or on this page. That's why I did that one with you. I'd be happy to answer more questions later. I'm just going to end with one more thing. If you take a look at this triangle, notice that in this problem that we just did, we had the interest and we had the principal and we had the time. Basically what we ended up doing was we ended up taking the interest and dividing by the principal and the time multiplied together. So that will work every time. If you have just the numbers down here, then you're going to multiply them. If you have an interest, you'll have to divide the interest by any two of these that you have. Let's say that I don't have the time. Let's say that I have the rate. So if I have the rate, I would just have to take the interest and then divide by the principal times the rate instead. So any two on the bottom that you have, you would just multiply those together and then divide the interest by that number. All right. Happy interesting.